As you likely know from viewing videos here on my channel, e-bikes are a big part of my life. I have a truck so I can transport bikes to other riding locations, and my mother-in-law and my daughter have SUVs. But it takes time and effort to try and keep the bikes secure, prevent them from scratching each other in the back of the truck, and I've been looking for a better solution to transport all of my bikes with my truck and with an SUV or maybe a car. And after testing out this new product for the past couple of weeks, I have found an affordable solution that solves my bike transport situation. Hello everybody, this is Matthew Miller, otherwise known as Palm Solo, and thanks for visiting the Mobile with Matt YouTube channel. Please subscribe to support this channel, and if you enjoy the content, share it on your social networks and with your family and friends too. Transporting one bike in the back of my truck has been fine because I can lay it down on its side. But that still isn't the best way to move a bike, and adding a second bike means that I have to use straps and try to keep the bikes from touching each other, as well as having to lift the bikes all the way up into the bed of the truck. I was recently sent an OUTFITR 2-bike hitch rack that is capable of carrying two bikes with a total capacity on the rack of 200 pounds. Let's first unbox the OUTFITR rack and set it up for mounting various bikes, and then we'll get into the details of my experiences. The OUTFITR 2-bike hitch rack arrived in a fairly standard cardboard box with all the parts and pieces you're going to need. No tools are included, and you will need several wrenches to assemble them. There are 7 steps in the instructions, and pay particular close to step 3 where you attach the bike rails to the main frame. That takes a bit of time. I finished in about 30 minutes before it was ready to go on my truck. As you saw in the unboxing, it's important to pay attention to the very specific details to assemble the rack and have the right tools available as well. It would have been easier assembly with 2 people, but I used the box that came in to keep it from getting scratched on the pavement, and I held it in place while I bolted the parts together. Let's begin with some key specifications to the OUTFITR 2-bike hitch rack. OUTFITR has a few models available, and the one that I tested was the 4148 model because I wanted a rack that would carry 2 bikes, as you can see here. One for me and one for another family member or friend to go riding with me. OUTFITR also has racks for a single bike. The capacity of this rack is built to carry up to 200 pounds of bikes. Now, this e-bike is about 65, 70 pounds, and that one is as well. Some of the bikes go up to maybe 80 pounds, but I've never had an e-bike that's more than 100 pounds, so you should be able to carry just about any e-bike up to that 200-pound capacity. It also supports bikes with a 50-inch wheelbase and 5-inch tire width. And as you can see on that bike over there, it does have a pretty good tire width. Some of the fat tire ones are generally up to 4 inches. I've never seen one larger than that, so I'll go with the 4 inches. It supports the various frame lengths as well, including that 50-inch wheelbase. There is a ramp provided to help you load and unload the bikes, and that's secured simply to the rack with just 2 pegs poking down and into the holes on the rack. There are also 6 total ratcheting straps that are with substantial notches to allow you to hold that strap securely in place. They have thick rubber pads on the tires so that it can prevent the wheels from getting scratched up and protect your wheels. You simply pull that down and lock it into place, and then it's a simple button press to release it. There's also height adjustable rotating frame holders that supports carriage of all types of bike frames, including step over, step through, and even folding bikes. This one over here is actually a step through and folding bike in one. Also a fat tire, so it has all of those different elements and it holds it perfectly in place. The main primary load-bearing bottom of this rack is alloy steel. And then these other pieces that each of the bikes sit on is lightweight aluminum rails. So that has a total weight of the whole thing of only about 60 pounds. And when you fold it up, it's really not too hard to carry around. Speaking of folding up, you simply release the pin, pull out the bolt, and the rack folds up so you can keep it mounted on your vehicle or fold it up after offloading to save some space when you park. I actually like to fold it up and then take it off because it's much easier to carry it around in that state and to connect it to the 2-inch receiver. It does fit all standard 2-inch receivers, so it should fit on any SUV or truck that you may have. Also, OUTFITR provides a 1-year warranty, so you can rest easy knowing that this bike rack is going to be with you and work well for you. And if you have any problems in that 1 year, just contact them to find out more. While I do have a couple of standard bikes, most of my time is spent riding e-bikes, as you can see on my channel. E-bikes can be heavy, usually in the 50 to 80 pound range, and with this OUTFITR 2-bike hitch rack, I can now carry any 2 bikes in my collection without having to worry, and I can take them wherever I need to. And with that adjustable sliding tire support, with up to 50-inch wheelbases and tire support up to 5 inches wide, I can carry every fat tire e-bike I want to. That's a major benefit for me since most of the trails and the forest service roads that I like to ride on with those kind of bikes requires me to transport the bikes up to 50 miles away from here. I'm still not too old and I can certainly lift bikes onto the rack or onto the back of the truck, but having that ramp feature is really nice. It simply secures right into the rack with those 2 slots and it holds it in place. And it really does help make taking the bikes on and off much easier. I also love that OUTFITR includes a heavy bolt and a cotter pin to secure the ramp right to the back of the bike rack. So the ramp is always with you when you leave. It's not just stuck at home. Once you roll a bike up to the ramp, the front tire rests in that angled wheel cradle that you see here. Slide that back tire support firmly against the rear tire. Move that center frame holder to a position where you can secure the frame to this stout square bar, and then strap it securely. It also has that rubber insert to protect your frame and that strap that makes it very secure. The securing mechanism on these square bars rotates 360 degrees so that it can fit any frame type and size without having to buy an extra bar to put across. Run that heavy strap with a rubber pad through both wheels and on your frame. Pull that strap as tight as you can to tighten it, and then you can try shaking it to ensure it's safe and secure in place. Removal is also easy. With a simple press of the ratcheting mechanism, we'll release the ratcheting straps and then pull them through and slide them out and you're good to go. I was a bit worried about the size and the weight of e-bikes, but the OUTFITR 2-bike hitch rack proved to carry 2 bikes with various designs very easily. As you can see here, I have the Summit 1 EMTB with very wide handlebars, and it fits on board with this big fat tire folding bike. There is a 15-inch safety space between the bikes, so even though this EMTB has very wide, flat hand grips, it still fits on the bike rack. There's also about a foot or so between the bike rack and the back of a car or an SUV, and that was something I was really concerned about because I just traded in my truck a week ago and bought a new truck, and there's no way in the world I was going to risk scratching my new truck with a bike rack test. Now looking at this bike rack, some of the pros and cons, right? So the ability to carry those heavy e-bikes with the wide tires is a real benefit for this bike. If you have e-bikes, this may be the rack to consider. That integrated ramp is also very helpful for loading big bikes. Those ratcheting straps are very well made and durable and easy to adjust. You can pull them as tight as you can to get that bike tight, and then that center adjusting strap that fits to the frame without any crossbar that some bike racks require you to buy in order to secure a folding bike or a step-through bike. Your bike is held in place safely and securely with no loose parts and pieces flying around. That $350 price for this rack is actually pretty affordable, and yet the quality is not compromised at any way for this price. Now, with every product I review, there's got to be something that's not perfect. The assembly instructions were fairly clear, but they were pretty short. And as an engineer, it even took me a bit to figure out step 3. Where the bolts of the aluminum frame are actually integrated and attached underneath the frame. I was looking all over the box for those bolts, and they happen to be attached to the frame. They slide to fit accurately on the steel frame piece, and that wasn't clear to me in the instructions. Maybe calling out those bolts and saying that they're already attached would help people find those bolts. This step could definitely be clarified in a manual update. Another thing is this ramp cotter pin that attaches that ramp to the back of the rack. Wasn't really shown anywhere in the instructions until I got to the very end. And then I had to take that bolt back out and secure that cotter pin to the bolt. Maybe including that in step 2 rather than later on would have saved a couple minutes. Keep in mind too, a large wrench is required to secure the rack to the 2-inch receiver. But I'd highly recommend you put it in the folded position to attach the rack to the receiver, as you can hold it in place and get it up there fairly easily and approach that bolt with the rack in the up position. If it's folded down, then it's going to be a lot harder to reach that bolt, and you might have to do what I did in the setup and lay underneath the truck with a piece of cardboard on my back, and I wouldn't want you to do that. So fold it up and then attach or remove the rack. The rack is a bit heavy, although 60 pounds isn't too bad for a steel and aluminum rack, but it is a bit awkward to carry with the long frame pieces that hold the bike. But that's inherent with all bike racks. And OUTFITR does make it easier with those lightweight aluminum bike supports and that ability to fold the rack up. As I mentioned earlier, this is an affordable bike rack. It's available now for $349.99, and it had an original MSRP of $589.99. If you'd like to purchase this rack, please use the link that I have in the description below. It was a real pain to transport my bikes around in the back of my truck, and I had to spend lots of time trying to keep the bike standing up and secure, getting the straps on just right, going back and forth between multiple straps that were secured to the truck, and it really deterred me from wanting to go out and explore other areas outside my neighborhood and my normal bike trails. But the rack really helps. The OUTFITR 2-bike hitch rack solved that major issue for me, and now I cannot wait to load up all the bikes, hit the different trails, hit the different areas that I want to explore on the bikes, down to the Ruston Way waterfront, for example. The OUTFITR 2-bike rack now kind of opens up my world to places I want to use my bikes and test them out and everything else. It fits standard 2-inch receivers, so it can go on RVs, trucks, SUVs, and cars with ease. My e-bikes are very expensive, and I have to admit, I was pretty worried after setting up this rack, securing them. It was so simple to secure the bikes to the rack. I was a bit worried about putting them on the back of the truck and driving them around. However, the rack has proved to be secure and safe, and the bikes didn't move. I can now trust this rack and my expensive bikes on the back of my truck. It provides a very secure way to tie down the bikes so they're safely and firmly on the rack. Driving around over speed bumps, up hills, and windy roads verified that my bikes stay in place and I can trust they're going to be safe on the back of the rack. I also worried about my truck getting scratched, but the rack keeps the bikes away from the tailgate and securely in place. I'm still a bit nervous about accidentally hitting my tailgate release button and going to the bikes, but I'll have to cross that bridge when I get there. OUTFITR also provides a 1-year warranty on the rack, so you can rest assured it will continue to provide a safe and secure platform for your bikes. Thanks everybody for watching. Please subscribe and share, interact with me here, and stay tuned for more coverage of e-bikes, wearables, and other mobile technology. And may the mobile force be with you.